All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast, powered by Prize Picks, powered by Omaha Steaks, and this Friday episode, powered by an injury report, some game keys, Jackson Dart news out in New York, and we're going to have a little fun talking about where Drake Maye sits in the AFC playoff picture right now, given that both Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes lost yesterday on Thanksgiving. Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving and are having an even better Black Friday here. We appreciate you guys joining us as
Yay,
always.
Capitalism! Yay! Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We will. Yeah, I bought a new mouse today, thanks to the capitalistic nature of Black Friday. At any rate, we'll start with the basics. We'll go injury report here. Get our feet wet here as we get this Friday show going. Taylor was down in Foxborough, one of a handful of reporters down there. I was not, but I have the injury report from Friday, which reads: Harold Landry, Brendan Schooler, Jelani Tavai, Kyrus Tonga, and Jared Wilson as DNPs. And then a couple full participants today as well: Christian Barmore, Kayvon Chason, CJ Dupree, Hunter Henry, and Morgan Moses. So a lot of DNPs, but also a relatively clean sheet in the limited fashion. So your main takeaways here as we approach the almost the 72-hour mark before Monday Night Football here.
Well, a defensive line that has already been pretty banged up. That's 2 more potential big hits. Elijah Ponder, I feel like, has gotten more reps. You saw him play a lot more at Harold Landry's spot, whereas earlier in the season, he had really more played on the right edge against left tackles where you typically see Kayvon Chason. But this is tough, man. And we know that Harold Landry really hasn't looked like he was fully himself for over a month now.
Yeah.
This is a big hit because Elijah Ponder's been solid. You know, he's growing, but you still see some areas where he needs to grow. And we've talked about the run defense. The pass rush obviously kind of took a step back. I thought they were solid last week, all things considered, but still not the unit that was really playing more dominant football earlier in the season, even if the sacks didn't reflect it. So no Harold Landry and Kyrus Tonga. It's tough for the run defense. Jelani Tavai is still dealing with a personal issue, so he's DNP 2 weeks in a row.
Right.
Might not play, and he's one of your other best run defenders. So that's tough. Now, Jared Wilson, I will say, he's moving around in the locker room pretty well. That dude's a freak. I still haven't brought it up to him. I asked him about his Thanksgiving and everything, but I really need to have a conversation with
was doing.
Yeah, like, dude, are you made of adamantium, or like do you have a healing factor? Because he is just, it's crazy to see. He's like walking around. It looks totally normal, given he has a high ankle sprain. Not saying necessarily would affect his mood. He's a pretty jolly guy all around.
Sure.
But yeah, so stinks in the trenches, run game, both sides of the ball. We'll see how they really get that done, especially in pass protection. That was kind of where Jared was at his best. Christian Barmore, this is standard procedure. Him being a full participant was expected. Kayvon Chason being healthy, though, or healthier, that's a big plus. CJ Dupree, I believe he has been Theo Johnson on the he was Theo Johnson today on the practice squad. I'm not totally sure. They wear the numbers for the opponent jersey, so sometimes it's very difficult to figure out who is who. But still good to get him back. And then 2 other starters in Hunter Henry, full participant with a toe injury, and Morgan Moses, full after dealing with an illness that he was dealing with during the game, and looked like it was still lingering. So, you know, some positive news in the trenches, but also this is just a game where, I'll be honest, man, with the amount of injuries the Patriots have, I don't think the Giants are a bad team. I feel like Mike Kafka, maybe he's giving them a little bit of a boost, like they're playing a different style of football, or maybe they're a little more loosey-goosey, trying some things. You know, they're playing with house money.
100%.
I think the Patriots aren't. This is the biggest upset alert game they've had, I think, since the Saints.
The Giants, and we'll get into a little bit more with game keys, I guess. But, you know, on that note, you mentioned the injuries and kind of where the Patriots are, 11 straight weeks, like haven't had a bye, now dealing with injuries. The Giants have blown, I think the number is 5 fourth quarter double-digit leads. So they've been there 5 times ready to win and then have just completely collapsed. So, like, you know,
that's why Daboll got fired. That's why they got rid of Shane Bowen.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. They've gotten rid of the things that have kind of got them there, right? They got rid of Bowen last week after they did it again to Detroit. So on one hand, it's like, okay, they can be had because they're vulnerable late in the game. The Patriots have shown that they're not. But at the same time, the fact that they have built up those leads and have been able to play decent football, you mentioned it perfectly there. They're playing with house money. I'm with you. This team definitely should be on upset alert right now. Don't think it will happen. That's why it's an upset, obviously. The Patriots should be able to handle business and get themselves into the bye week. But if they don't, really, again, after the bye week too, you got Buffalo and Baltimore coming up. A couple tests after this. So, you would hope they can notch a win here before they get there. On that note, and on the note of playing with house money, Jameis Winston had been under center for this team for the last several weeks because Jackson Dart's been dealing with a concussion. But news out of New York is that Dart is set up to play this weekend. So the rookie first rounder out of Ole Miss back under center for New York. Your thoughts on him versus Jameis? And, I mentioned the house money thing because as we know, Jameis has been a journeyman here the last couple of years. He gets thrown into the fire, and for lack of a better term, he's a complete gunslinger. He'll throw 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, push the ball downfield wherever he wants to, and really plays like there's nothing to lose. So looking at this game now with Dart back under center, he obviously has Kafka as his play caller, but now turned head coach. Do you think this is an easier or tougher challenge for the Patriots to have to deal with on Sunday compared to what it would have been in the veteran Winston?
I'm trying to pull up Jackson Dart's and Jameis Winston's numbers because I hadn't actually done a deep dive yet into Dart's. I did for Jameis. Jameis, I'm pretty sure, is even in the turnover-worthy plays and big-time throws, which is exactly what you'd expect from Jameis Winston. And obviously, he's still a good athlete as a receiver and as a runner. So he's not a slouch by any means, but I think Jackson Dart is the one that scares you a little bit more because he's electric, man. His ability to extend plays. We spoke to Mike Smith today, and he said that's the thing with Jackson Dart is there's going to be some rushes where you just need to know your keys and understand because contain is going to be huge against this guy. There's also the element in the quarterback run game. Now, do I think they're going to call designed runs for him? Probably not because, the guy's had so many concussions. I really don't think that, especially this coaching staff, you may be playing with house money, but I don't think it's a good look for you to potentially get the quarterback hurt when you really don't need to because the season is pretty much a wash for them. So that may not – I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just need to cut you off there. A report out of New York last week, one of the beat writers was that they're actively trying to pull back not so much the quarterback run game for him, but his aggressiveness, if you will, trying to run the football because of the concussions and potential concussions he had suffered the last couple weeks. So,
and I know their quarterback coach talked about that today, so that makes sense. But at the same time, he's going to do what he does, right? It's just he's going off of instinct.
And with Drake, it's the same thing with Drake. We talk about it all the time, where he's going to try and run. It's like you got to kind of let him play his game because that's what makes him such a dynamic player.
But Dart's got much more of a freestyle kind of thing about him where Drake definitely did that. But Dart is kind of to the extreme where he goes backwards in the pocket. He does things you really don't like him to do. He holds onto the football, I think, more. I don't think he sees the field very well, but turnover-worthy plays. So Jameis Winston was at 6.7, albeit in a shorter sample size. But then Jackson Dart was at 3.4, which is very respectable. Now, lower big-time throw rate at 5.9. Jameis at 7. That's not insane necessarily. So no. Jackson Dart, I do think, is the tougher challenge because the mobility, because of the arm talent. Not that Jameis was bad in that regard by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think there's a certain spark that you get with Jackson Dart, as reductive as that is, versus Jameis. So I do think he's the tougher challenge. But either way, I think they definitely would have needed to be on their P's and Q's because we know Jameis may give you more opportunities to take the ball away, but also if you're sleeping or you're not on your P's and Q's, he can do the exact same thing. Saw it last week with Christian Gonzalez and Mitch Tinsley. You give up a touchdown against the guy where there is no one who's taking a Mitchell Tinsley touchdown against Christian Gonzalez bet before the game. No one's taking that prop, but it happens because technique wasn't sound. So, Jameis definitely gives you that. But, Jackson Dart, we've seen what he can do. I just think that he's a guy you got to really, really be on top of it, be sound in your rush lanes. And if he breaks the pocket, you got to plaster. Make sure you know where your guy is because if you want to cheat and look back to the quarterback to make a play, they're going to make one on you.
And as we know, too, this Giants team started slow to the beginning of the season. They turned to Jackson Dart. I believe they won 2 out of 3 of his first starts, or 2 out of 4 maybe. So he got them on track a little bit there. And then, those blown leads just kind of caught up to them there. He got hurt. Dayball gets fired. And that's kind of now why they're sitting here. Losers 6 in a row. But they have been a relatively competitive football team no matter who was under center for them. So we'll get into it more with the game keys on why this could potentially put them on upset alert. But either way, I think both of these quarterbacks It's going to be Dart, but whether it was Winston now that it is Dart, both have the ability to, compete and win NFL football games 1,000%, as we've seen in the past. So that is the quarterback update with the Giants. I do want to talk about Drake Maye and his standing currently in the AFC playoff picture, because as we know, a couple losses yesterday to, there it is, Drake Maye. That's a new one. I like that.
Bo.
Yeah, exactly. I like that one. At any rate, I do want to talk about that. Do want to talk about Drake Maye, and where he stands in the AFC playoff picture. But first, as you guys know, I got to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because Prize Picks is the presenting sponsor of Patriots Daily and the CLNS Media Network. It is the holiday season. It is the best time of year for sports. They've got bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and more, and it's all happening at once. So while you and I are out here making decisions every day on what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks has a new feature. They now offer early payouts. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the opportunity to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. As you know, Prize Picks is super easy to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player props. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. So get in on the action today. Download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Alrighty, Drake Maye. Obviously, we've done the MVP talk ad nauseum. We've done the second-year leap stuff. Like, we get it. We know where he's at. We're not going to trudge through that again. However, playoff picture, as we sit here today, Patriots still in the 1 seed after yesterday's games across the NFL. And, going into the weekend, they still hold the half-game lead over the Denver Broncos in the AFC playoff picture. As things currently stand, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson on the outside looking in to the AFC playoffs. So rest of it, we got Denver, Indy, Pittsburgh, LA Chargers, Jacksonville, Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. Where does Drake Maye rank among those quarterbacks for these starters if the season ended today and this was your postseason bracket?
I think he's the best.
Josh Allen?
Now, I think obviously Josh Allen will always have something to say. But I think I think the supporting cast should be involved in what we talk about in this conversation, because obviously the quarterback in a vacuum, sure, but there also needs to be some level of, who are they throwing to? Can they play to the level that you expect of them? Because it doesn't really matter that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL right now, period. If everybody has an equal team, it matters what exactly he's doing with the situation he's been given. And I think Drake Maye, if he gets Will Campbell back, if he gets Jared Wilson back, and they aren't significant downgrades from what they were before they got injured, I think that's fair to say. Now, Bo Nix is also playing some good football, not to Drake's level. I think he's at least somebody that you do need to respect. Daniel Jones has been pretty inconsistent, though. Justin Herbert.
You see, he's also
number 3. I think
dealing with a broken fibula. Daniel Jones. You see?
That? Yeah, he is,
and he's going to try and play. Which,
yeah, the reporting on that was weird. Like I think Ian Rappaport said he was moving well, and then there's a video where he's clearly not moving very well.
Yeah,
we're not going to get in that conversation.
Yeah,
but,
right.
And then Trevor Lawrence has his Superman moments. Honestly, he's got some Drake Maye to him as well, where he has some really bad plays, but also the ones where you're like, geez, if this guy did this all the time, he'd be one of the best that we've ever seen play the position. So I would say Drake Maye with his supporting cast probably is at the top. Maybe Justin Herbert is number 2.
I'm in on Herbert. I've been a Herbert guy for a while. I think he's one of those guys who has been dominant in the regular season though, and then has kind of dwindled when the playoffs start. That's kind of been his MO the last couple of years.
So they get hurt like by the end, but they're their way to the end of the season every year. So it's hard even as people who don't follow the Chargers very closely, hard for us to separate what exactly it is. But I just have a hard time believing that Justin Herbert is why that team has struggled so much when they have one of the maybe historically worst training staffs in the NFL. That every single year they have an IR that looks like a CVS receipt.
And right now it's Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are out. So like, even if they do get to the playoffs, he's going to be under attack the whole time. So I think it is a conversation between Drake, Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert at the top. And then there's a little bit of a drop. Maybe Bo Nix. I want to see Bo Nix do a little bit more when the playoffs start. But as far as like regular season and where they're at right now, I mean, Drake's as good as anybody in the AFC playoff picture. I think that's pretty safe to say.
And it's crazy because this is really, I mean, from a Patriots perspective, it's the headline is probably that Drake May might be the best quarterback that's going to be in the AFC playoff picture. But nationally, it's that you are might not, if it ended today, you wouldn't have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow. And I'm sure a lot of people are also really surprised that there would be no CJ Stroud. Right. He's out right now. And obviously, it's been a weird season for the Texans as well, but that's pretty nuts. And there's different circumstances. You have Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson where they've just missed so much time that you'd think that they would still be in playoff contention because these are teams that are seen as powerhouses in the AFC. But those supporting casts, man, just really haven't been enough to be able to carry them over the line. And the Ravens have also had a slew of injuries. We have to acknowledge that. Just it gets to a point where, but then you look at the 49ers even actually, I was going to give them an excuse, but what that front office and coaching staff has been able to do to keep them afloat, despite the fact they've had some huge injuries there as well. Maybe Baltimore, not quite as deep as you would expect that organization. The Chiefs, I mean, where do they rank defensively, actually?
I don't know. The Chiefs thing is wild to me just because, last season when they were getting ready to play in the Super Bowl, I was like uber confident. It's Tom Brady and it's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the second best quarterback in NFL history, bar none, blah, blah, blah. Ever since I started to say it, and now it's not Patrick Mahomes' fault. It's not all Patrick Mahomes' fault. Ever since I said that, they got smoked in the Super Bowl, and now they're 6-6 for their first 12 games. So, Tom Brady didn't have great supporting cast at times either, and he still got his team to the postseason. He still got to the 10-6, 11-5 record, and they're sitting here at 6-6. And I know the team's not great, but I want to see my A1 top tier Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in football, elevate the team much more than he has so far. And it just, again, not all his fault by any means, but that team just hasn't been there. And we talk about the core four best quarterbacks in football in Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Lamar. 3 out of 4 are out of it right now. And the one is Josh Allen, who is the 7th seed, the last seed right now in the AFC playoffs. So I know there's still a couple games, but that's what it could look like.
And even those guys, I feel like it really this year has shown how important your supporting cast is. And obviously offensive line, but also receivers that you trust. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have pretty bad receiving cores where, these are guys that can make plays, but I wouldn't say they're trustworthy. I wouldn't say they're consistent. And when you have that and there's no star, where it really is a bunch of guys that are maybe average, and I think the Patriots have enough guys that are above average, if not great, and they have the coaching staff where they can make all these things work and everything kind of works in harmony. But the Chiefs have had injuries at the wide receiver position. The Bills just have not done nearly enough to provide Josh Allen with the kind of support where he can be the best version of himself. And now it feels like maybe he's kind of playing out of character and doing some of the loosey-goosey Josh Allen stuff that we've seen in years past. And even Lamar Jackson, absolutely, he makes his share of mistakes last night, but Zay Flowers pushing off where you could say it was a bad penalty. I don't think he needed to push off. He straightened his arm. He created more distance by doing what he did. And Isaiah Likely trying to put the ball out when all he had to do was run into the end zone and gets punched out. And it feels like every time the Ravens are in the playoffs, their supporting cast just does dumb stuff and they hurt themselves and kind of just take their legs out from under them. And maybe Lamar Jackson hasn't been perfect in these circumstances. And these quarterbacks, sometimes Josh Allen's had to shoulder the load and be almost perfect. And the one mistake he makes ends up costing him because these are so close. But it's important to acknowledge that, yes, the quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. But if you decide that you're not going to surround them and just say, hey, we're going to have a good defense, but we're going to leave our quarterback out to dry, I'm sorry, that's not a winning formula in this NFL. And obviously it's going to get tougher as you get into the playoffs. So, there's a lot of interesting layers to what the playoff picture looks like right now. But I think from a Patriots perspective, it is a testament to the fact that they improved the situation around Drake May. They got veterans around him. They got better athletes and developmental players with high ceilings around him. And that's allowed them to really thrive and for him to start taking steps in his development along with the great coaching staff. Whereas you're seeing the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think even this year anybody's going to say that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen aren't at the absolute top tier of what the position can be, but they've been asked to do way too much. And now we're seeing that it puts you in these spots where even if you have a good defense and good coaching and you are competitive, it's just going to make the difference in the Chiefs, especially all these games that they were winning last year in these tight situations. They're not. And the Patriots are kind of flipping that script themselves, where for 2 years they were in a lot of these games and couldn't finish. But now, thanks to coaching and better supporting cast around their high potential quarterback, they're finally starting to find ways to win and finish.
And I feel like there's just been like not so much a pendulum swing. That's maybe not the wording there, but this idea that quarterback is so much more important, so that once you find the quarterback, you get him, you pay him, and you figure out the rest later on. And maybe the Chiefs were able to do that. But the Chiefs have still had good teams the last couple of years when they won Super Bowls. Like the one couple seasons they didn't, they got beat by Tampa, who had a great team around Tom Brady, obviously. And then they also lost to Philly last year, who was, I would say, by far the best roster in football last season. So that just goes to show. And yeah, Jalen Hurts played well, but so did everybody else on that team. They loaded up at a running back and, a bunch of other positions as well and got it done. Same with the LA Rams a couple years ago when they beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets there because Burrow elevated them to a next level. That Rams team was freaking elite across the board. So you do really need a full roster. You don't just need a quarterback. And I think it's coming to, bite these teams in the butt a little bit, the ones that are on the outside of the playoffs looking in now. So Drake could be there. He could help them compete. We'll see what happens when it's all said and done. But right now it's looking like he is definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the AFC playoff picture for sure.
I'll try to hit up some of my contacts also, see if we can get some more conversations from outside perspectives on the Patriots relative to the landscape of the AFC now that it's starting to take shape. Because we can say all we want, but we don't cover these teams intimately, and other people who do could bring some really cool perspectives. So I'll work on that. Anybody who's watching right now, you have my word.
100%. Love it. All right, let's talk about Omaha Steaks, and then we will get into some of the keys to this game against the Giants coming up on Monday night. But look at on screen. There it is. There's the burger.
Hello, beautiful.
Hello, beautiful meats. Omaha Steaks is here, and they are the exclusive meat partner of the CLNS Media Network. Give USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, and so much more right now on omahasteaks.com. It's Black Friday. They have a Black Friday sale rolling on the site. It is 50% off site-wide right now, plus an extra 20% off select favorites. And then with our code Patriots, you get an extra $35 off the top. Holidays, I know we just went past Thanksgiving, but now we have Christmas coming up and New Year's and everything else towards the end of the December season. And you can get your meals prepped by Omaha Steaks right now at omahasteaks.com. Again, code Patriots at checkout takes $35 off the top of your purchase. Terms apply. See site for details. All right. I do want to get to your game keys, but just actually wanted to ask quickly about where you're at now, a couple days after Sunday with the red zone offense, the issues they've had. I know Josh McDaniels spoke about it a little bit today down in Foxborough, and kind of how hard it can be to, be on the 5-yard line and actually get there across and get across the end zone line, what have you. So do you think that, against this Giants team, it's easier, harder, or, they can kind of buck this red zone issue trend against this New York team?
I'm confident because this is a man-heavy defense, and I think that the Patriots have had some plays that work well against zone if executed properly. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing, is it's going to be whether or not they really figure it out and do the things they need to do. Now, when you're getting stuffed at the goal line, it's rarely one person's responsibility. Like we could talk about Darian Lowe and Ben Brown. Can they do it? Morgan Moses and Mike and Wynn have to be better as well. They need to be on their game, and even the tight ends and the fullbacks. And I think you want to be able to run the ball in that situation. You can't just be a team that no one's afraid of you running it because they know they're going to be the ones that build the wall and set the edges. But also there were a lot of options last week that it just felt like didn't get executed properly. Hopefully they can really get in the lab, and I feel like red zone is probably going to be a big emphasis this week after last week. Even the vibe we've gotten from them is that they know this was an issue last week. So I think they have the players to do it. I think they have the scheme to do it. It literally is just about getting it done. And it's kind of like the run defense where it's the same situation, although, personnel-wise, they're hurting a little bit more.
Right.
But I think offensively, it's not this big mountain you have to climb. It's literally do your job and make the plays and make the decisions that you should be making. Like Josh McDaniels said that he shouldn't have called one run And I think it was probably the bootleg where there was a blitz and like Drake fakes it and you can see him peek over his shoulder and see the blitzer and he basically throws it away. I don't know if he was falling on the sword or not, or if there was something that should have been checked to or whatever, but I really don't think it's an insurmountable issue on offense. Defensively, man, I don't know. It's kind of the same thing because yes, there are some scheme reasons that they've had some issues. But really, I mean, if you're at the 2-yard line, every offense should be scoring. It's hard for me to really be mad that a guy wasn't able to win at the catch point like we saw with Marcus Jones, the Drake London thing. But I think the execution thing is where Christian Gonzalez getting beat by Mitch Tinsley. That shouldn't be happening. You need to be better. Then there's also times where it's all right, Craig Woodson. If you have a matchup with Theo Johnson and Craig Woodson and they just kind of put it on the back shoulder, I would expect Theo Johnson to win that matchup because Craig Woodson, as we've seen, is a very competitive player, but he's not competitive at the catch point. He'll be there, but there's not enough ratio of incomplete passes to completions where you're thinking, all right, this is one that I'm going to be discouraged from. So sometimes I think there are some exploitable matchups in the red zone, and I think the Patriots, when that bend but don't break mentality, you need to stop them in the high red zone. You can't let them get close to where those one-on-one matchups are going to be even scarier for you. So I'm more worried about the red zone defense. But the red zone offense, I really just think it's you got to make the right decisions, execute properly, and avoid, I don't know if you want to call Matt Collins' pass interference a mental mistake or not, but you just can't do the things that take points off the board and actively hurt you.
100%. All right. We will close with this. As we know, Patriots taking on these Giants on Monday night. Get a little extra day of rest here for a team that desperately needs it, going on their 12th consecutive game ahead of the bye week. But Taylor, we have your keys to the game. So how do the Patriots avoid an upset against New York on Monday night? What do they have to do to make sure that they head into their much-needed bye with another W?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost what they've got to do, I'll actually start with the defense real quick. Okay. I'll go back to front. I think they need to build a wall.
Wait, I wanted to do this first, actually. Sorry, we did have it. No, you're good. That's my fault. We have a super chat. I wanted to get that out there because we put up all super chats. We talked about Drake. Just a funny, he may be the best right now. Not bad, pretty good. Shout out super chats. Anytime a super chat gets thrown in here, we will put it up. So we appreciate it as always. All right, sorry to cut you off. Continue with your game, please.
No, these are going to be pretty quick because I think these are pretty simple. I think you need to build a wall and set edges. This is a Giants offense that I don't think people should sleep on. Wan'Dale Robinson is a legitimately good player. While I don't think the run game is going to be as dynamic without Jackson Dart, you can't sleep on Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. No. They're not going to be like Chase Browns, where I'm thinking these guys are going to have 100 yards, either one of them individually. But I do think this is a Giants offense that's going to be okay with running the ball consistently, similar to the Jets a little bit. And honestly, that would be a pretty good blueprint for why I would be nervous if Jackson Dart were healthy and I thought that he could have a Justin Fields type impact. But given the fact you could be missing Harold Landry, you are going to be missing Milton Williams, likely going to be missing Kairos Tonga as well. The interior defensive line depth is not looking great right now. Joshua Farmer, the fact that he wasn't active last week is just weird. So I'm kind of still TBD on how much of a role he should have. Eric Gregory was up and down. I like some things I see, but at the same time, a very young player who doesn't have a lot of experience. So you're putting a lot on the plates of Christian Barmore and Corey Durden. And I don't know that you want those guys on the field as much as they may have to be in this game if you want to still have a quality kind of defensive front. So that worries me a little bit. Again, on the edges, you're probably going to have to rely if Harold Landry can't play, and he might. We've seen him not practice early in the week, and then he still ends up active. So he's a tough guy. We'll see. But Kayvon Chason, I don't want to say he's been inconsistent because I think the way they have their spill rules where the edge defender kind of knifes inside and the linebacker is supposed to be the one crashing down to set the edge. I feel they've been inconsistent there, and I'd like to see better trigger and communication from those guys. But I just think there are ways that, and while I acknowledge they're banged up, also, I feel that maybe I haven't given enough thought to they have played so many games, and this decline may just be, they haven't had a bye, and these guys are banged up. Maybe they'll be better after. But you want to go into the bye with a win, and if you do, you have to make this Giants offense one-dimensional and help out your pass rush, because I don't think the pass rush is going to be great in the conventional ways. I think you're going to have to scheme some things up, stunt, create those opportunities for yourselves at times. So make them one-dimensional. You cannot get pushed back like we've been talking about, basically giving guys 2 yards before you even make contact. That cannot continue to happen. dent the line of scrimmage, try to make some plays where guys knife inside, whether that's a matter of blitzing or stunting or what have you, and just do not let them be able to run the ball and have the confidence to do so into the late portion of the game, because that's when I think you get into dangerous territory in this kind of game where, again, the Giants are a team that's going to have you on upset alert. You're already banged up and could probably use a break because you're so close to this bye. Just got to get over the hump, and that's a major step to getting there.
100%. So that is the defensive side of the ball, like you said, building a wall, setting the edge, avoiding them making those explosive plays. Flipping it to the offense, you have don't let the pass rush wreck the game, and also exploiting the Giants' banged-up cornerbacks. Paulson Adebo, Deontay Banks, both currently, I don't know if you call them questionable yet because I don't have a designation, but they were limited in practice earlier on this week. But that pass rush, man, and that front that the New York Giants have is lethal with your Abdul Carters, Brian Burns, obviously, Dexter Lawrence. That whole bunch can really get after quarterbacks. And Patriots are dealing with 2 injuries on the left side as well. So how do you think they settle that down? And I guess looking at those keys to the game as well, how that can essentially make or break this Pats offense here.
Yeah, so Dexter Lawrence, still one of the best interior rushers in football. Abdul Carter has been the best rookie pass rusher at any position. Basically, the only stat that he doesn't lead rookies in is sacks. He has 1 sack, but he has been highly, highly disruptive as someone who can play on and off the line of scrimmage. Brian Burns, only player with more sacks than Brian Burns is Myles Garrett. He also leads the NFL in batted passes. So another really disruptive guy. You don't want to be dropping back in obvious passing situations too many times. Great way to do that is to stay out of long yardage situations with a consistent run game. This is the worst run defense in the NFL by yards per game. They are going to be vulnerable, especially if you can get to the second level. This could be a big Travion Henderson game. And I feel like I say that every week. And sometimes they let me down a little bit, whether it's the way that the scheme is executed or the game plan ends up working out, or whether it's just the way things are blocked up for them. But this is a linebacking core that's already banged up. Their second string linebacker, or their number 2 linebacker. I'm sorry, his name is so long. I think it's Demetrius.
Oh, Flanagan Fowles.
Flanagan Fowlers. Yes, thank you. That's a tough one. But he's banged up. He might not even play, and they've been very vulnerable when linemen are able to block them, and you see a ton of really big runs. So also, a lot of their vulnerabilities running the ball have been downhill to the right. Hello, Morgan Moses and Mike Nwenu. That should be the strength of your run game. And also on tosses and plays to the perimeter. So another place that you'd like to see Travion Henderson maybe get some opportunities. So run the ball on them consistently, wear these guys out. Again, don't make yourself obvious. But outside of that, it's a lot of the usual stuff. And I actually asked Josh McDaniels, obviously you trust everyone you put in there. I didn't want to get that, stock answer. But I asked, is there a certain level of, do you have to have some way of accommodating for the fact that you have 2 guys that haven't played together very often on the left side? I thought that was kind of a clever way to sneak that question in. But he said, we're game planning every week, different fronts. You always have to know who's on the field, understand the personnel, the matchups and those things, but also that there are going to be things they can do to avoid the pass rush. And he didn't get into those, but you're thinking chip blocks, getting the ball out when it needs to be out, minimizing your longer dropbacks. This is a Patriots offense that loves those 7-step drops. Maybe you go away from those if you can. And a lot of play action. If you're going to go downfield, it's got to be with the threat of the run to slow these guys down. So I don't think you're going to be breaking a whole lot of ground here. Maybe we see some more RPOs and things like that, small schematic wrinkles. But Mike Vrabel even told us when we asked, is it hard when you have to prepare for a DC that you're not experienced with or that you don't know? And they're not going to change their offense, right? Like, we're going to see the same core concepts. It's just going to be a matter of what they scale back or increase. And as I've also said earlier in the week, McDaniels is right. They were doing that for Will Campbell and Jared Wilson to a degree, I'm sure, as well, where you have to make sure that you're not putting your rookies in bad spots, which is why I thought it was interesting he said it like that, where we have to do this every week. So it's not like you're reinventing the wheel or anything, but the plan is to stay on schedule. Don't put yourself in spots where these guys can just tee off on you and you're having to hold on to the football.
I'm watching the Bears Eagles game on my TV in my office, and Eagles fans are leaving the stadium with like 5 minutes to go because
every tweet I've seen is that they've been
spanked by Chicago. So love it. All right, well, those are our keys to the game. We got them in.
One more.
Exploiting, this banged up cornerback room from the Giants as well. How can they attack a room that, like we said, like the Patriots offensive line is struggling in the defensive back department for the Giants?
Yeah, so it was a quiet week last week for the Patriots wide receivers, but they made big plays. Like Stephon Diggs catches the third down late in the game. Matt Collins catches the fade that we broke down. Kayshon Boutte draws 2 pass interferences on the same drive. Demario Douglas with the seam. Like they weren't, nowhere to be seen, but no one really dominated. It was more of a tight end game, specifically Hunter Henry. This week, I don't think you're trying to attack the linebackers specifically. I think you're going after these corners because not only are they banged up, they're not very good. Now, Cordell Flott has actually not a name that people probably know, but he has been good for them. Actually, he has had a very competitive season, and I believe jumped Deion Banks earlier in the season to become one of their starters. So he's a good player, but he's banged up. As I just said, Deion Banks, I think, was benched. Drew Phillips is kind of Marcus Jonesian last year, where he gives up plays, but he also is competitive. But he gives up a ton of big plays. So that's a guy I think you're going to want to target, especially Demario Douglas. I think man-to-man situations, he'll have the advantage. Paulson Adebo, who I don't know if he's even going to play, but he's been a disappointment for them. Corey Black specifically has been the worst corner since week 8, since he had to start filling in and taking on a bigger role. Teams have just been picking on him deep. If you can get him and Kayshon Boutte matched up, that's a huge advantage for Kayshon Boutte. And I think this Patriots receiving core can have one of, if not their best day of the season against this secondary. Even Javon Holland isn't a guy who's been getting a lot of takeaways, getting his hands on the ball quite a bit. But I don't know if he's the threat that he has been at other points in his career. So I think the key to the passing game having success, and maybe Drake May finally breaking that 300-yard mark, is to attack these corners who are not only hurt, but not terribly talented, even when they're not I don't want to say not talented, but not very efficient, at least when they are healthy outside of, again, Cordell Flott, which if he has a good game, don't be surprised. Come back to Pat Staley, say Tay told you, because that's a dude who's he really has been pretty impressive. Specifically, actually, last note, these guys are very competitive breaking on outbreakers, especially Flott. Like if you want to throw a quick out or something like that, kind of like the Falcons corners, he's going to be all over it. He has been susceptible to intermediate in breakers. He gives a little bit up there. So that's going to be the key if you do want to attack the boy Flott. And Corey Black, just go deep. You should be all right.
Let me get your prediction right here, right now. Does Drake finally break the 300-yard mark this week against the Giants?
I think so. I think their corners are bad enough. And I think if there's going to be a game where you do, it's this specific room. All
right. I like it. Those are our game keys. That is our look at the Patriots injury report. If Jackson Dart is actually better than Jameis Winston for this team right now. And looking at Drake May as well in the AFC playoff picture and where he stands. That is our Friday show, and we're sticking to it. But for those of you that are here, there are 1,100 of you right now watching across all platforms. We appreciate it as always. And what we're going to do is jump over to our Discord channel. Go to clnsmedia.com/Discord. Join the party, and we will have our Patriots Press Pass members be able to ask us questions. Everybody else can still hang out and check it out and listen in for some more Patriots. What's the word? Coverage? I don't know why I'm losing my mind right now. It's Friday at 5:45. Some more Patriots
Black Friday,
coverage.
man. It's not your fault.
Patriots content. That's the word. Content. We're all about the content. So yeah, head over to Discord right now. We're going to hop right over there and close out the week with a little bit more of a conversation with all of our members who will come over and ask questions and come on stage with us. So thank you guys for being here as always. We'll be back again Monday, pregame show at Gillette Stadium, followed by a postgame show on the Gillette Stadium field as the Pats try and win their 10th in a row against the New York Giants from Gillette Stadium. So again, thanks as always for you guys for tuning in. Taylor, thank you as always for your hard work on the game keys to end the show. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you very soon. Peace out, everyone.